The Maine Warden Service K9 team travels throughout Maine to bring missing persons to safety and to protect our natural resources. I'm Katie Yates, and in this special bonus season of Fish and Game Changers, I'm running with the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife's K9 team. In last week's episode, you heard part of a relaxed training session. Let's jump back to that frosty March morning. K9 Corporal Lucas Balanzo has just returned from setting up a practice track for Landowner Relations Corporal Dave Shabbat and his K9 Ruby.
Air sense searches and stuff now that the weather's more.
Just, brushing up their skills.
Now that we're not buried in snow completely.
Yeah, it's like Lucas set up this practice track by walking through the woods and hiding his coat. That's what Ruby will be looking for. The path Lucas took included lots of twists and turns to try to trip Ruby up, but also included clues for Ruby and Dave to find to confirm they're on the right path.
Let's go. He just go away.
We jet off through the woods, off trail, through mud and snow and ice. I'm struggling to keep up as Ruby and Dave run ahead. Dave tells me later that this is actually a leisurely pace compared to the younger dogs on the K9 team. As we go, Dave explains there's a lot of trust involved in the tracking process, but he can also read Ruby's body language. They've been together for 9 years, so Dave can tell when she's on a scent or maybe just distracted. Dave is paying close attention to the surroundings. As we go, he points out a footprint, and Ruby finds Lucas's hat, a few clues left behind, letting Dave and Ruby know they're headed in the right direction.
She find something? A hat?
The track Lucas made is about an hour old. When Ruby loses the scent, Dave backtracks and works systematically to pick it back up again. Ruby looks back at Dave when she's not quite sure where to go next, and Dave knows how to help her get back on track.
You see how she never looks at me when she's on the track? Ever. If she looks at me, I know we're up.
Dogs' noses pick up millions and millions of smells, and Ruby is combing through all of that information to find the right one. So she's got a lot to process.
So we know, right, as a team, that right here somewhere Luke took a turn. Did he go that way or did he go that way? Because I have a perfect track trap and we're off of it.
For about 30 minutes or so, we race through the woods. But then Ruby stops and starts barking. At first, I am not sure what she's doing, but then I notice a green coat hidden beneath a fallen tree. I would have walked right by that coat if it wasn't for Ruby. Ruby indicates by sitting and barking. When Dave confirms her find, he brings out her favorite squeaky toy, the toy she only gets when she's training.
Yeah! Good girl! Good girl! Hawaii! Good girl! What you got? Oh, look at Katie. You would say, throw it, but Katie! Okay, Katie didn't throw it fast enough? What you got? Come here! Dogs see the world through their nose. I mean, the amount of olfactory nerves there that's what's giving it. They confirm with their eyes. That's why it's always great, right? We try to train the dogs to just trust their nose. It's real hard when you're just doing like gunpowder scent or something like that.
We'll talk more about what Dave means by this later.
We're on a track and off a track.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm just reading her cues. But she's working just to get that ball. Right, Bo? Where's your ball? What? So she never sees this squeaky toy until we're training.
Dave's truck is parked on the road where the track ended, and we hop in to head back to the starting point where the other members of the K9 team are waiting.
All right, let's go in the truck.
We actually forgot to bring Lucas's coat back to him. Whoops.
That track was an hour old, very nice, nicely done, a lot of different things. A whole variety of different things for me to go through. You know what I have to do? I just let her do her thing. But then when I come into those areas where I'm like,
That's not right.
we missed something.
Yeah.
So then I just go back. We just backtrack a little bit. And I let her make another decision. So
She's just trying to She's scanning to find that scent again.
You got it.
It's millions of other smells.
Bzz.
And she's finding that one that she knows is right.
And so she's finding the little skin cells that drop off. She's finding earth, the freshest earth disturbance. Come up here. Come on, come up. Then she gets all that taken away. Go girl, free dog. You're just a free dog now? You do get a treat though when we get back, don't you? She's like, yeah. So she gets a treat in trade for her ball and for doing a good job. Let her do her thing. And then every now and then I get a nice confirmation of a footprint or a leaf disturbance or broken sticks.
So you're also looking for those signals.
I am. I'm looking for all those to confirm what she's doing. You know, and I can tell a lot by how she's pulling. She's really good to me with the eye contact, like, duh.
And that's when she's like, I'm not sure.
That's when she's like, hey, can you help me out? Help me out. Lost it. You know, that was neat for you to see. I knew I'd get that on this track with it being older. And, but this is more typical to what we're being called to, right? Old stuff.
So it's
We're
really a
looking at it.
partnership between you and the dog, figuring out what works for both of you.
Huge partnership. Huge.
But even we were going pretty fast through the woods.
Yeah, that's slow. You just wait till you're with these dogs. That is slow. Yeah, breezing storm go crazy. You know, but that takes a lot of trust on their part, right? Because they have to be watching him every second. Because what's going to happen if they blow a 90-degree turn?
Mm-hmm. You gotta be ready.
You got to be able to go, oh, they lost it, and then go back to it. Oh.
Remember earlier when Dave mentioned the challenges of tracking gunpowder residue? That technique falls into the discipline of evidence detection, where the canines are trained to sniff for objects that have human smell or gunpowder residue, such as shell casings or fishing poles. Anything that might be used in a fish and game violation. I want to know more, so in my chats with Dave, Lucas, and Game Warden Chris McCabe, I ask them. Dave gives me a rundown.
Nice. She's just an extra tool in the tool belt, you know, whether it's looking for evidence at a, fish and game violation to our bread and butter, our search and rescue.
What do you mean looking for evidence?
Looking for evidence, anything that's been discarded, left behind, hidden, in a fish and game crime, whether it's, somebody ditched fishing poles or bait, whether or not they illegally shot a deer, looking for the shell casings,
She can do all that?
Yeah, anything.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, anything with human scent, gunpowder. We teach our dogs to find evidence that is conclusive with fish and game violations. So. And then we teach
Dave describes an incident where a hunter discharged a firearm near a daycare.
And he ended up shooting too close to a daycare center. And
he was hunting.
Yeah, he was hunting. Sees this deer out in the field, pulls right over, right out front of this daycare, and starts blasting with his 30-06 across this field, right off the side of the road. Well, I end up getting there, and he's still in the field looking for the deer, and no, he had his gun put away. No, I wouldn't have done that. And I'm like, listen, I got my dog with me. She's going to find your stuff. And I think he was just really testing me where she wasn't, I literally had let her out, and within 7 seconds, she's laying on one of the shell casings just off the side of the road. And at that point, he's like, oh, you got me. I just wanted to see if she could do it. I'm like, are you serious?
Chris tells a similar story.
Really, as a team, want to bring closure to everybody and help people out. So it's really exciting. And then on the other side of it, making cases with the evidence, gunpowder or human scent. Morgan will find any of that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat that they can do that.
It is. It's like really diverse, I guess, would be the way to think about it. They're finding human remains, live finds, or evidence like gunpowder, anything with gunpowder
Just
residue.
with their nose. That's all
Right,
they're
yeah, just
using.
their
That's
nose. And
crazy.
all that they work, like, well, I kind of always say this, I'm like, they're the cheapest state worker that we're ever going to find because they work for biscuits.
And I did not know that they did that, where they would smell for gunpowder residue.
Right. I mean, one of my best cases, fish and game cases that I ever had with Morgan was I had a guy reported to have shot too close to a residence, and we went over, and the guy met us there actually because he knew that we were coming, and he met us in a spot, and he showed us where he had shot from supposedly, and just so happens that there happened to be a fresh casing like on top of this beat down grass. And I went and talked to the witness, and the witness said, absolutely not, that's not where he shot. And I brought Morgan down through the field, and she was pretty young at the time. And I brought her down through the field, and she was working around this large open field, and she found a casing from that gun, like in the general area where the person said that the witness had said that he shot from. And it actually turned out that she was, like, obviously, like, my K9 corroborated what the witness had said, and actually turned out that the hunter had placed the evidence in the other location. So he had come back and put the casing down, and it's just a really rewarding circumstance where you can bring a dog in that can't talk to you, but she can indicate by laying down on a shell casing, and then you look down and you're like,
Lucas and his canine Breezy spent hours searching for a shell casing that was right under their noses.
Where, but it was an evidence search. We went to assist another game warden, and shooting potentially the person shot too close to a house, shot a big deer, a big buck, and the homeowner called in, saw the whole thing happen. There was a debate whether they shot from the road or out in the field when they shot at the deer, and whether they did too close to the house. So probably one of the critical piece of evidence in that case was finding a shell casing, because the suspect clearly said that we never picked up our shell casing after shooting the deer. So that shell casing was pretty much going to tell whether someone was telling the truth or telling a lie. And I remember we searched for like an hour, the edge of this road along this big hayfield, and searched and just came up with nothing. And I'm like, I can't believe there's no way we're missing it. Like, I just can't. If the shell casing was here or shot this morning, there's no way that I'm going to miss it. And we searched for an hour to the point where the game warden I was assisting was like, all right, I'm out of here. I got other stuff to take care of. I got a couple other calls. Like, there's no, just keep, if you want to stay here, you can, but it's not here.
Yeah.
Like, your dog would have found it. No big deal. I'm like, no, I'm going to. So I was in and out of the truck, giving the dog a break, having her work 15, 20 minutes at a time. She works pretty quick and burns herself up. So I remember sitting in my truck after it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours into it now. I'm like, I probably should just move on to something else. I shouldn't give up. And, we were searching primarily that threshold of what's legal and what isn't. So 10 feet within the paved way, like basically the shoulder and ditch of the road. And there's trash and beer bottles and all that, cigarette butts and stuff. There's so much, and it's easy. You can miss stuff, but, where the person that shot the deer was adamant that I didn't pick up my shell casing. So I'm like, there's no way I missed it. So we went back out, searched again, and finally it just dawned on me, like, I didn't search the road. The road was busy. Like, there was cars zipping by. I had my dog on lead most of the time, didn't want the dog to get hit, and people are just driving. Most of the time people don't realize what we're doing, and there's a dog on the side of the road, and when you're searching those roadside searches, so it's dangerous for sure. You don't want your dog to get hit. So I didn't search the road itself, the paved road. So finally, like after 2 hours of searching, it dawned on me, like, all right, if it's not in the ditch, it's got to be in the middle of the road. So
yeah.
I took my truck, blocked off the road, and finally stopped traffic, and I kicked Breezy loose in the road. Finally, once traffic was stopped and slowed down, and it was like 2 seconds, she'd ran right to the middle of the road, and she picked up that shell casing from like 20 feet, 40 feet away. It was a pretty big distance as far as our head snap. She just bolted right in the middle of this road, and there was a crack in the pavement, probably just as wide as this 270 shell casing,
wow.
And she just ran right to it, downed on it, and was staring at it like it was, hey, if you just let me run around the road the first 2
Let me
seconds, I
find
would have
it.
found it. So
Yeah.
that was pretty rewarding. Like, you know,
All
hey,
that time.
yeah, all that time and grinding on it, and after everyone gave up, like, there's
Yeah.
no way it's here. You know, hey, you know, here it is. You know, it turned out that, you know, it obviously proved and disproved a couple things. The guy shot from the road, but also he was also far enough away from the house, so he was legal. So on that aspect of things, but and that was just a quick example of some of the rewarding ones. I guess you spend enough time on it, some of those things kind of mean a lot to you.
Next week, in the final episode of this 3-part series, Lucas, Chris, and Dave tell me about how they became game wardens and why the work they do with and without their dogs is so rewarding. For more information about the MDIFW K9 team and photographs of the wardens featured in this series, visit mefishwildlife.com/changers.